My name is Netanel Goldberg. I'm the founder of Automate, and I'm very happy to be here today, very excited to present you the Automate system. Let me start the presentation with a question I used to ask myself a couple of years ago. Is PRT attractive? Well, obviously I wouldn't be standing here wasting your time if it wasn't, right? We see that there are already 3 working systems, the Morgantown, the Ultra, the Mustard. To get there, Vectus is upcoming next year. We see all kind of vendors trying to figure out the best PRT system. So obviously PRT is attractive, right? But what would happen if I would alter the question a bit and ask you, is PRT attractive enough? I mean, if PRT was attractive enough, how come we PRT lovers are so unique? Only few of us in the room. How come since 1975 there are only 3 working systems? How come we have trouble changing the world and making them believe in our vision and selling these things like hot buttons? So, trying to figure out what is the problem here, actually we came up with 2 problems. First of all is infrastructure. Well, infrastructure costs a lot of money, takes a lot of city space, and you can't really always build up the city from the PRT upwards. But actually this is not the main gap. Okay, the main gap is conceptual. We just love our cars. We love our Beamers, our Volvos, the big Chevys, and we're not ready to give them up yet for the current PRT alternatives that are presented today. So this made us think, what would be your ultimate PRT vision? What would be, how would you define the system that would make you and me give up their cars? You say, okay, I want this, I don't need the Volvo anymore. So the question we tried to solve is, how do you use your personal car, which is very private, we are very emotionally attached to it, that is very flexible, gets you to your doorstep, and still apply the magnificent efficiency of public transportation. Unlike many other companies, or few companies, which actually take the car, put it into the train, and then go with it, we decided on a more leaner, greener approach. And we came up with the decoupler. Well, unfortunately for us, chainsaw was already patented, so we had to come up with a different thing. And what we envision is decoupling between the user's private environment and the chassis, the infrastructure chassis that allows the user to keep his private environment with him at all time. And by private, I don't mean personal, like the P in PRT. Private means he owns this part of the vehicle, and he would be able to exchange the chassis according to the different infrastructures found along his path. Let me try a different approach to explain what we came up with. In this short film, you will see the user driving his car at the beginning of it, but he would end up inside the centrally controlled PRT system. Now, the transition will be smooth without asking the user to go off his car. Okay, he's now entering the PRT station, leaves, the chassis goes away, and he gets a rail chassis. Now, this simple transition illustrates the concept, the basic concept of Automate. Decoupling between the user's private capsule and alternating chassis. This is the secret. This is the heart of the system. Now, if you can accept that, I would like to move one step further and detail what would happen to your daily use once you can find these kind of systems. It's 8:30 in the morning. You had a horrible night. The kid didn't sleep, but your boss won't give up on the 9 a.m. meeting. You must make it to the office in time. So you grab your coffee, take off your tie, and go out to this odd-looking smart car that the Automate guys gave you, which is parked just outside your home or inside your garage, and you start driving it. Where do you drive it? Well, actually you drive it to the nearest Automate hub. At the hub you find a funny thing. You find that you're actually not driving a smart car, but you're actually driving a capsule. A capsule that lets you switch between the road chassis, which is getting back stored in the hub, and you get an alternate rail chassis which lets you board the centrally controlled system. Like we saw previously, the switch is done smoothly, and what happens is actually you get the radio to tell you, thank you for driving, you're no longer in control of the car, and you're kindly requested to select your destination on the LCD touch panel that you have on your dashboard. And from that moment on, you become the envy of your friends who are driving down in traffic with their awesome Chevys and Corvettes. But they're down in traffic while you use the PRT system. At the other side, where you get the hub near your work, the opposite happens. You're giving up your PRT chassis, a rail chassis, and you get another rail chassis to drive and make it just in time for the meeting in your office. So this is what would happen to your everyday use once automated systems would be available. Okay, this is how you would use them. So we described the decoupling, we described the everyday use. Now I would like to just have one more portion and describe what are the automate building blocks. How do you enable such a system? So the first part would be the capsule, right? The capsule would be the part that encapsulates all that is needed for driving a car, which means it has the wheel, it has the pedals, it has the GPS, the mirrors, everything. But it also has all the required communication and security measures for driving into the safe PRT system. The second part, again the heart of the system, is the alternating chassis. In this example you have the road chassis and the rail chassis, but you need to understand that the concept is not limited to these two types of chassis. Concept means that once you standardize the connectivity between the capsule and the chassis, you can think of any kind of chassis. You can think of elevated chassis, you can think of monorail chassis, you can even think of water chassis, like in Stockholm where you have so much rivers. Once you define and standardize the connectivity, it means that the system can scale up to many directions. The third part, last but not least, is the Automate hub. Like we saw previously, the hub has the entry point and the exit points. It's where you exchange infrastructures. But it also has the most important part of Automate's business strategy, which is the chassis storage and maintenance area. Now, why is this the heart of the business case here? Once you decouple the chassis from the car, the users are no longer car users. They no longer need to go to the garage. They don't longer need to refuel the cars. Essentially, they become private transportation services. Okay, they buy from the Automate operator these services. Think about it. If I would take this iPhone, for example. If you take the plane and you go out at the other side of the world and you operate it, it works, right? Why does it work? Because the system enables you to roam automatically. The GSM system knows to recognize that you change systems and you connect again. The same experience would happen with this kind of system. You roam between infrastructures. And therefore, you are no longer a car owner, but you buy transportation services. So, I would like to conclude with going back to the original question. So, is PRT attractive enough? Well, by now, I guess you know that I don't think so. And like many others said in their earlier presentations, and I was actually very encouraged to hear that, we are attached to our cars. Without a decent motorized solution from door to door, people will not give up their private cars. If you take the American public as an example, America is a big country. It is spread on vast properties. And without the ability for each and every one to reach his doorstep, PRT would not be attractive enough. Today, PRT are being sold to government and cities. If you would make it attractive enough, it was named sexy in different lectures yesterday, then you would get the general public to say, okay, I got the point, I don't want this, I want your system, because it solves all the problems that I need in my daily communication. So by adopting the concept of alternating chassis, you get the ultimate last mile solution. Now, I guess at this time, some of you would move uncomfortable in their chair and say, okay, you got a point there, but why do you think this is the ultimate solution? Well, let me give you 3 main points that I think that make it the right one. First of all, it enables a centrally controlled system with private environment. Again, like I said, this is private. The user buys the capsule, he can leave his CD inside or forget his lipstick, and it's his. The mechanical coupling between the self-driving mode and the centrally controlled mode is essential for system controllability. It will also lead to easier standardization and easier regulation. And last but not least, it is forward compatible system design. And what I mean by that is, again, by standardizing the connectivity between the capsule and the chassis, you can actually grow in both directions. You can have more infrastructure which are location dependent. There are different kinds of requirements by different kind of cities and areas. One would need a monorail, an upper rail. One would say, I have a track, but it's not being used. Here, take it and upgrade it. So the standardization and the split, the decoupling between the upper part and the lower part means that you can also go to the car companies and tell them, it's working. Now you can have a Mercedes or a Volvo or low-end capsules. And it's all enabled by having this standardized. So, thank you. Just one last word about where Automate is standing today. We're working to get our first funds for building the prototype, and in parallel working with the Institute of Technology in Israel, the Techno in Haifa, to define a program that would support this. Like I said, this solution is orthogonal to the PRT, to the different PRT solutions represented by people in this room. It can be added to any one of them. So there's no competition in a way. Okay? We encourage you to adopt this system, and we're looking forward to cooperate. Thank you.